Hi, I'm Tracy Gamble, and I'm here to show you how I apply the Potter's Choice glazes. I'm going to show you, to begin with, how I clean off my pots if the bisqueware sometimes sits around. And I just wipe it off with a sponge to make sure the pots are clean. And that's how I start, is just by making sure the pots are clean. And then I set this aside so it can dry. And now I'm going to show you, you want to shake up your glaze really good. And this, I already opened once, so it's ready to go. And I'm going to take the pot, and what I like to do is 3 full coats. And I start and I go around with the first coat, and I'll just show you how much glaze I use. I use quite a bit. And this is on a bisque pot. And I float the glaze on and reload as I go. And I'm applying pretty thickly. And I just want to get the glaze on there, because this is nice moving, breaking glaze. And so the specifics of the brush strokes here are not as critical as letting it, I mean, it's all critical, but letting it dry in between each coat. As you can see, I reload my brush. There are a lot of different brushes you can use. My preference is this fan brush. And I'm loading it pretty good and brushing the glaze on. That's the first coat. I'm going to set this over here and let it dry. And I happen to have some already ready to go. This one already has a coat on it, so now it's ready for its second coat. As you can see, the brush strokes go around and around here. And this time I'm going to brush up and down. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the fact that I don't use wax resist when I'm brushing glaze on, because I can control it with my brush strokes. Now there's a little bit down here that I'll clean up with a sponge later. But this is the second coat, and I go up and down. Now sometimes this, you could think, oh, that's so you don't see brush strokes. Well, that's part of it, but not really. I do it so I can keep track of how many coats I have on the pot. It's really important to let the coats dry between each application. All right, so now, ready for the third coat. And I understand that this is like letting paint dry, because that's kind of what it is. But if you've got more than one pot going, it really doesn't take that long to get it to dry in between. Be patient. You'll have a better experience with your glaze if you're patient. And this is the third coat, so I'm going around as opposed to up and down. And now this is around here. And the recommendations on the labeling and on Amico's website are really good. Good places to start. The recommendation is a bisque fire to 04. And I do a slow bisque fire to get everything ready to go before I paint my glazes on. All right, so I've got 3 coats on this, and it's dry enough to put the decoration color on. So I'm going to do some bits of brushwork on this pot here. And this already has 3 coats on it. So I'm going to get some, and I'm just going to make some lines on here. And I like to work in 3s. Doesn't mean you have to do that, but that's kind of what I do. And now I'm going to just put it on the inside. And I kind of just like to do that. And even if it drips, look at that drip. That might be excellent. So, and then I would put on another coat. This is also about letting it really move on the pot. So that's kind of it. And sometimes I might like connect these here on the rim. And I can see that. There. Now I have an underglaze applicator. That's what it's called. Amico makes these too. And it has, this one is an 18 gauge needle. That's this part right here. That's the gauge, the needle part. And there's an 18 gauge and a 16 gauge. And the 16 gauge is bigger. And sometimes that works best for high fire glazes. I also use pins to keep them clear. So there's that. And I've got marked on here what's in here. And sometimes I put the date on there so I know what's in these little things. And I'm just going to decorate a little bit right on top of here. And that's going to move, but it will show some color, just bits of color. And as you see, it's all still kind of wet, and that's okay. So then, there's some of that. And I'll just make a couple of lines right in here. And I think that's probably good for decorating.